Hello everybody, welcome back to another video, and in today's video we are going to be doing another unboxing. This is going to be another 1 to 200 fighter jet unboxing, and I've titled this video my last 1 to 200 fighter jet unboxing. Now what I mean by that is, while in the future I may collect other 1 to 200 fighter jets here and there, for the most part I've kind of completed my fighter jet collection. The trouble with these 1 to 200 fighter jets is they aren't released in the same way as 1 to 400 passenger and other military aircraft. They're not released on that month-to-month basis. So while there are other fighter jets that I would love to add to my collection, they just haven't really been made as far as I can tell. Aircraft like the Harrier, I would have loved to have one of them in my collection. I know there are different variations of the Harrier, whether it's an AV-8B or a GR kind of 5, 6 or 7. I wouldn't really care as such. I just kind of want a Harrier in my collection, as well as that aircraft like the Saab Gripen. And while we do have the F-35A, they haven't made molds for the F-35B or the F-35C. So what I'm saying is, as far as my fighter jet collection goes, I've kind of collected all the aircraft that exist that I want to get. And so these aircraft that we're going to be unboxing today are kind of cleaning the edges of my fighter jet collection as far as we can go. Anyway, as I've said, there are other fighter jets that I would love to add, but as far as the ones that actually exist go, this is practically all the fighter jets I want to collect. So in typical unboxing fashion, I will introduce each aircraft and then we'll go through them in detail later on. So starting off today, we have one of the Hogan Wings models. We have a Eurofighter Typhoon, a Royal Air Force Eurofighter Typhoon. Now, if you remember back to my other fighter jet unboxing, you will know that we already have a Royal Air Force Typhoon in my collection. This is it. This is the tandem seater Eurofighter Typhoon. These ones are usually used for training. As you can see, the two seats allow for a student pilot in one seat, the instructor in the other seat, and as well, more notably, you can see that there are no missiles or drop tanks on the underside of this aircraft, and that's something I wanted to change. I wanted a single-seater Typhoon that had weaponry and drop tanks underneath, and this is that Typhoon here. So we're going to put this one off to the side, and then we're going to get to the other fighter jets first before opening that model. So secondly here, we have something very close to the Typhoon. We have the French Rafale. The Rafale is essentially the French version of the Eurofighter Typhoon. Originally, France were involved with the Eurofighter program before they split off to develop their own fighter jets, and this is it. So essentially, this is the French version of the Eurofighter Typhoon. So we're going to go ahead now and put this off to the side, and then bringing out the last model for today's unboxing. This is a Herpa model. We have the Royal Air Force Tornado. Now, these have now been retired from the RAF, but they are still in operation with other countries like Italy and Germany. And while it is retired, I still wanted to add a Tornado into my collection, so we have this model here. So without further ado, as I say, we're going to put that one up to the side, and we're going to bring back the Typhoon and open this one and go through it in detail. So as you can see, the box is the typical Hogan box. I won't go through the box in detail because it's literally the same as all the other fighter jets. But then opening up the cradle here, as you can see, we have the typical plastic protection over the model. We have one of the nose cone pieces that I can just slide off of the nose there. And there we go. Now this is what I was looking for. Now as you can see, this is the full armored single-seater version. Starting off at the nose of the aircraft here, as you can see, we have these forward ailerons. Now this is a very key feature of the Typhoon and a lot of European fighters. The Rafale and the Gripen both have these forward ailerons as well. I believe these are actually called canards or something along those lines anyway. And then you can see the cockpit up here, lacking the second seat, which I think just looks so much better. We then have the air intakes down here. As you can see you've got that kind of drop down there, and that's where the air intakes are. We've got the forward landing gear, got the Royal Air Force insignia there. Now looking at the underside of the wings now, taking a look at the underside of this aircraft, as you can see, we have a lot of armaments. We have 6 of these paveway laser guided bombs. I don't know what the other ones are. I don't know whether those are air to air or air to ground. I know of course the bombs are obviously air to ground, but I don't know what the other missiles are. You can see we've got 2 on the outer sides of the wings here, and then we've got 4 on the interior here. But then finally taking a look at the rear of the aircraft here, as you can see, we have that tail with the Royal Air Force insignia there, the squadron logo there, the rudder, and then those 2 engines. And overall, that concludes the Eurofighter Typhoon. Now, the history of the Typhoon, it was developed in the 90s by, of course, the UK, Italy, Germany, and Spain. It first flew in 1994 bought and so far 570 have been built. The UK currently operate 160, Germany operate 143, Italy operate 96, Spain operates 73, Saudi Arabia operates 71, Kuwait operate 28, Qatar operate 24, Austria operate 15, and Oman operate 12. Unfortunately, the Typhoon does now have a set retirement date from the Royal Air Force, but luckily it is no time soon. So the Typhoons are going to be retired from the Royal Air Force in 2040, so we've still got 18 more years of service, which is still a very long time. And with that, we're now going to move on to a very similar aircraft, but surprisingly different. We have the French Rafale. And here we go, here is the Rafale. Now I'll go over the history of the Rafale before unboxing it this time. Now as I said, France were originally involved in the Eurofighter program, and the way that worked is each country would assign a kind of aerospace company from that country to develop their part of the fighter. From the UK that was BAE Systems, from Italy that was Leonardo, and then from Germany and Spain that was their kind of branches of Airbus. And France would use Dassault. Now Dassault are the largest completely French aerospace company. Now I say completely French because Airbus are larger than Dassault, but Airbus aren't completely French. They have their headquarters in Toulouse, but they're also partly British, German, and Spanish. So the Rafale first flew in a demonstration flight in 1986 and then was introduced to the French Air Force in 2001. 230 have been built and 180 of that 230 operate with France, and 46 of that 180 operate off the Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier. The United Arab Emirates also operate 80, Egypt operate 54, Indonesia operate 42, India operate 36, Qatar operate 24, Greece operate 18, and Croatia operate 12. And it's also pretty interesting to note that although the Typhoon and Rafale are pretty much competitors, Qatar operate 24 Typhoons and 24 Rafales. And the roots with the Eurofighter program, as you can see as I open this, are very evident in the design of the Rafale. As you can see, it does look a lot like the Typhoon. This is the carrier version of the Rafale, so as you can see we have the heavily reinforced landing gear there with the extra struts and everything, and as well at the back of the aircraft we have the hook, because the French are the only other Western country outside the US to use the Catabar system of carrier, which is the, I believe Catabar stands for, I'm going to try and get this right, Catapult Assisted Takeoff but Arrest Recovery, I think is what it stands for. The cockpit is probably the biggest difference between the Rafale and Typhoon, as you can see, as we've got the refueling probe here that is constantly out. Again, all French fighter jets have this, which is weird. The Mirage 2000 also has the refueling probe constantly out. So it's pretty interesting to note. And as well, you can see, of course, we've got the cockpit there, the landing gear. We do have a drop tank in the center of this Rafale there. We've got some missiles on the side there. And then moving to the rear of the aircraft, as you can see, we have the tail. Again, very similar to the Typhoon. And then we have a Marine down there because this is the naval version of the Rafale. Got the French logo there. And then as you can see, we have those dual engines at the back of the aircraft. Overall, I do really like the Rafale, and I'm glad that I've got it alongside my Mirage 2000 because those are the two current fighter jets that France use. Of course, the Rafale is their much more up-to-date fighter jet, and then the Mirage 2000 is kind of their legacy fighter jet. And so I'm very happy to have both of them in my collection. And finishing off the unboxing today, we have this Royal Air Force Tornado. Now, the Tornado is essentially like the older version of the Typhoon in the sense that it was co-built between a bunch of European countries. This time Spain weren't involved, but of course the UK, Italy, and at the time it was West Germany were involved in building the Tornado. It first flew in 1974 and 990 were built. The Royal Air Force operated 385, of course those were retired in 2019. Germany operated 322, Italy operated 100, and then Saudi Arabia operated 120. Near the end of the service with the Royal Air Force, this was primarily used as a bomber aircraft. It was carrying a lot of bombs around the Middle East. So starting off at the front of the aircraft, here you can see we've got the cockpit, and I believe this is a tandem seater. I don't know if all of the Tornadoes were tandem or just some of them, but I know that this one is a tandem Tornado. As you can see, we've got the Royal Air Force logo there, the forward landing gear here, and then moving back we have these giant drop tanks underneath the wings of the aircraft there. And then moving to the rear of the aircraft, we have those engines there, and then as you can see on the tail, if it'll focus, as you can see, this is in the farewell livery. So on the top of the tail here, as you can see, it says from 1982, I think that says, to 2019. Currently, I believe the Royal Air Force are the only country to retire the Tornado, so these are still in service with Saudi Arabia, Italy and Germany. It's just the UK that have retired these at this point, but nevertheless these are approaching retirement in other countries because it is now a very old aircraft. But overall, that concludes today's unboxing. So yeah, 3 amazing aircraft to have in my collection. I'm sure at some point I will do a fighter jet collection overview because I know I haven't actually shown off all my fighter jets in one go. It's just been through these individual unboxings. So at some point I will get around to doing that. But for now, this concludes my last kind of main fighter jet unboxing. If any of these other aircraft come out in 1-200 form, like the Harrier, the Gripen or the F-35C, I'm sure I will buy those, but for now this does conclude my last fighter jet unboxing. So with that, I want to thank you very much for watching today's video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.